700,000 Australians pushed into poverty. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heiser here and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from news.com.au. Hundreds of thousands of Aussies to fall into poverty when JobSeeker and JobKeeper end, according to ANU researchers. A dire forecast shows hundreds of thousands of Australians could fall below the poverty line when government subsidies end in a few weeks' time. Hundreds of thousands of Australians could fall into poverty when the federal government ends 2 coronavirus stimulus packages in just a few weeks. Now we're going to see more and more of these type of articles and more calls for increased government intervention and stimulus. Now, I understand why people are making those calls. People are worried that some people will fall into poverty. But the sad thing is we're living in a society now where people have not been expected or taught to build emergency reserves. They've foolishly been told that they can depend or trust the government. This sets a very bad and dangerous precedent because you can't, everyone. They can change the rules however they like. We need to emphasize and encourage people to be self-reliant, to not live beyond their means. How many people do you think have pushed themselves a little too far beyond their earning capacity if disaster strikes? This is why you can see everything the government is doing is propping up the housing. If we get a correction in there, how many people will fall over? What would the outrage be? A September 2020 analysis by Australian National University researchers forecast 740,000 Aussies would be pushed into poverty. Still mostly holds up, one of the researchers said. The economy is a bit stronger and unemployment is a bit lower than predicted. But our conclusion basically holds. ANU Centre for Social Research and Methods Director Matthew Gray said, the analysis showed that big increase in poor Aussies would occur when the dual schemes of JobSeeker, Supplements and JobKeeper ended after March. So here's the thing. You're already poor. If you're depending on JobSeeker or JobKeeper, you're already in that situation. You're not independently wealthy. You don't have enough buffer or reserves, or you could have burned through them all. There's no shame in being poor. There's no shame in going through tough times. There shouldn't be a stigma to that. It just may be that it's, the slap in the face that you need to get your finances under control, to rein in your spending, to live a little bit frugally, to maybe just look at where you're wasting money and to see what actually is a necessity compared to a luxury. You'll be amazed. And I'm speaking from first-hand experience. We had a client job disappear. A year's worth of work, probably 2 years worth of revenue, gone. And of course that's spent up front for that. So we really had to scale back a lot. And that's where you learn, when you tell your wife, okay, you're not allowed to spend a cent for 2 months. We've got to make do. That's when you learn what a necessity is. And in some ways, it's probably the best thing that can happen to some people. If they've never been through tough times, if they've never learned to get control and take charge, if they never had to, then maybe this can be the wake-up call. So while they're painting it as a doom and gloom picture, I would argue it could be the best thing that could happen to some people. They could emerge out of trials and difficulties in a better situation and stronger for it. That's why when there are tough times in an economy, when there is a recession, when there is creative destruction in a market, it can be a good thing in the long run. But it feels like we're too much of a helicopter generation now, aren't we? Mr. Gray and colleagues, Ben Phillips and Nicola Biddle, calculated that the coronavirus supplement to JobSeeker and JobKeeper programs together saved about 2.2 million people from falling below the poverty line in the first few months of the pandemic. Their analysis, published in The Conversation as the JobSeeker supplement was about to wind down, showed that slashing JobSeeker and JobKeeper would increase the total number of Aussies in poverty from 1.1 million to 1.84 million. Given that the economy turned out stronger than the researchers anticipated, the number of Australians pushed into poverty will likely be slightly fewer than 740,000. The latest unemployment figures from December showed 6.6% of Australians were without a job. Another 8.5% didn't have enough work. JobKeeper is a wage subsidy program for businesses that was launched in late March after the pandemic had begun disrupting Australian life. Okay, that's incorrect. It was launched after the government interventions to mitigate the pandemic began disrupting Australian lives. In some states, Victoria, the poster child for JobKeeper, nearly 9% of the people employed in that state were in jobs for businesses that were propped up by JobKeeper. The initial six months run was extended in September to run through March 2021. But that will be it for the program, Treasurer Frydenberg has said. Based on what we know today, there should be no expectation that JobKeeper will extend beyond the end of March, he told ABC's Insider program on Sunday. So here's the thing. If you're on JobKeeper, you need to be cutting costs, cutting back to the bone, acting like you're unemployed, that your job could disappear, or the business could be on the brink. Our sister-in-law, she was on JobKeeper, okay? So she moved in with us. She cut her rent down significantly. She cut her costs down significantly. Back at work now. You've got to learn how to be frugal, guys, because you can't count on them to take care of you. You know, that money, that tax that you're paying, and people are thinking, oh, it'll be okay. If, I pay this because if times get tough, government will be there to take care of me with welfare, in case I need it. It's not insurance. They'll make you jump through 50 million hoops. They'll make you burn through every cent of your savings. So it's always a temporary program. I'm just waiting to see when we'll see calls for UBI. And I know there'll be some people advocating for UBI. The only way UBI would work is if instantly all of the civil servants that were part of the welfare program were fired and put on UBI. Can you see that happening? Because we wouldn't need them anymore. There's no point redeploying them, just give them UBI. How many could you see that happening? I mean, it'd be fun just to do it, just to see that. The look on those people's faces going, sorry, you're redundant now. Everyone gets the same money. We've got a computer program that does it. We don't need you. And what about all the job agencies? They'd all disappear. They'd be competing for people. Be a different world. Can you see that happening? Can you see the unions letting that happen? Not a chance. Then you get special interest groups will be coming in advocating for, we need better UBI because we're more victim. Our victim points are 5% higher than your victim points. I need UBI plus 99, UBI super, UBI study bonus, UBI political special interest group 5, all these different bloody versions of UBI. You know what had happened. It'd just be a complete and utter cock-up. He said the program had dished out $80 billion and supported more than 3.5 million Aussies. JobSeeker is an unemployment payment scheme that replaced the New Start allowance in March last year. A coronavirus supplement that boosts the JobSeeker payment significantly has been steadily reduced and will disappear completely by the end of March. Well, that has to happen. It's too high. It creates a disincentive for people to work. That's the problem. People aren't stupid. If they get money for not working, they're going to do that rather than work. Or if the difference between working and not working is insignificant or not worth the hassle and costs associated with working, they're not going to work. Come on. That's common knowledge. I'm assuming that's common knowledge. Mr. Frydenberg has previously said the federal government hopes more jobs will be created even as JobKeeper runs out. Well, that's why they're throwing money at JobMaker. That would happen through a combination of tax cuts, supplementary payments to certain people on income support, and measures to prompt businesses to hire extra workers, he said. I'd really like to see something a bit more innovative. Some special economic zones around Australia where we cast off the shackles of some of the more onerous government and employment restrictions to allow for the market to act with greater freedom. And then let's compare that to some of the other parts of the country and see where people want to live and see where they have more mobility. What do you reckon? Do you think you'll ever see anything like that here in Australia? I don't think there's the political will. So there we have it, everyone. Up to 700,000 people being pushed into poverty. If you're in that situation, find ways to save money, cut back. The most extreme suggestion I have for people is if you really need to save money, or if you're afraid of going without, because we'll see all these articles on ABC about people having to skip meals, is do some fasting. Expose yourself to not eating for periods of time so you prepare for it. That's more of the Stoic philosophy. Expose yourself to things that you think are quite detrimental, that you couldn't overcome, and then you'll start to be adapted to it and realize it's not that bad. You'll make more sensible decisions. But perhaps that's not for everyone, and perhaps that's a little harsh, but let me know what you think in the comments below, and please leave your suggestions for people who might find themselves now below the poverty line, what they can do to better themselves or to prepare. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Aussie Broadband. You can buy merch from Teespring or Heiser Says, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, sign up using our Self-Wealth referral, or use PayPal. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.